Good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name's Henrik, and I'm just going to quickly introduce our session tonight. So we'll just be discussing how to budget at university, any tips, any hints, anything that you found really useful that might be super beneficial for you guys that are thinking about starting university come September. Now, luckily for all you folks at home that are tuning in, you won't be listening to me talk about this today. So we do have our lovely students that are joining us today. They'll obviously current students, they're able to give you the real ins and outs of how to budget. I graduated a few years ago now, and I'm going to be completely honest, I was absolutely awful at budgeting. So I'd be the worst person to give you any advice tonight. But luckily we do have a star-studded cast who have all the expertise and knowledge, and I'm sure they're all amazing at budgeting themselves. We'll be able to tell you their tips and their strategies. So firstly, I'm just going to Nabila, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and then the floor is yours. I'll let you guys just have a bit of an open discussion. Please do get involved, anyone watching at home, so you can post your comments. Please, anything related to budgeting at uni, fire away. Our students, I'm sure they'll handle it absolutely fine. And yeah, keep them on their toes. And yeah, so cheers, guys. Thank you, Nabila.
Thanks, Henrik. So hi, everyone. My name is Nabila, and I am currently a PhD student at De Montfort University. I've been at the university now for about 6 years because I did my undergraduate degree at DMU as well in psychology. I am an international student, so I moved to the UK in 2014 to begin my higher education journey. So I'm happy to answer any questions from any students about really anything to do with budgeting. I think I've learned a fair amount in the last 6 years on how to budget and make sure I'm not penniless at the end of the day. So yeah, happy to answer any questions, and I'll pass over to Mayu.
Hi everyone, I'm Mayu, and I'm a master's student studying economics and risk management. And yeah, I've been at university since first year as well, same as Nabila. And yeah, so it's my 4th year on, so I've had some experience with budgeting as well. And I'll pass it over to Alex now.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm Alex. I'm a 3rd year pharmacy student, so a relative newbie compared to some of our panel, and went through the same process from East Midlands, so didn't come too far, but came through the normal route of student finance and Student Finance England. So if you've got any questions on the application process, pop them into the comments and we'll get through to it later. Asim?
Thanks, Alex. Hi, guys. My name is Asim, and I'm a final year cybersecurity student. Obviously been there for 3 years now. University was one place where I've literally learned how to budget all my money and literally got lots of tips and tricks for you guys. So can't wait to share them with you. Back to you, Nabila.
Okay, so the first question that we're going to answer is, how did you go about the student finance application prior to starting university? This is probably one of the most popular questions that we always get. I didn't apply for student finance because I wasn't eligible as an international student, but Mayu, Alex, and Asim will be able to kind of answer that question very well, I'm sure. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. So yeah, I applied for university during clearing, so that was in August, so 2 months before university starts. So it was a bit of a rush. However, it was a relatively easy process to apply through the government's website. The only annoying part is getting your parents to get their income and like writing it down. That's a bit of effort, but apart from that, it's just the waiting. So you have to wait a few weeks before you get a response from the government and with the student finance application. But yeah, apart from that, everything was relatively simple, and all the instructions were there for you on the website.
Yeah, just to follow on from you, it's a really easy process. But one thing for sure was when I was applying for university, I applied for my tuition loan. But one thing that I didn't know about was the maintenance loan, and that's something that quite a lot of people don't know that they can apply for. So it's literally apply to the government website, and it's a very simple process. And depending on like your household income and stuff, obviously the government will decide, Student Finance England will decide how much money that you receive. So like obviously do head to Student Finance England and have a look like how much you can receive per year.
Yeah, and I'll jump in as well. Now, apologies, my connection went there. But with student finance, it can be quite sort of a nervous process. At the end of the day, if you're applying for tuition and maintenance loan, it's a lot of money that's going to support you all the way through. So the actual application is quite easy. I was amazed at actually how easy it was. Once you log in and sign up to the Student Finance England site, it's actually such an easy process. And if you do it online, when you go to redo your student finance the next year when you renew it, it actually saves most of your details. So if your financial situation stays the same, all you do is reconfirm that information and the information of your parents, guardians, and sponsors. Really easy process. So I've done it 3 years and it's not taken much time at all. But the first time you do it, there is a bit of information to get through. So I did mine with my parents, sat down and got things like their income and stuff like that, put it all onto the form. And then a few weeks later, it got approved and it said the amount that I was getting for tuition, but also maintenance as well.
So I actually have a question. Did your parents have to fill out anything themselves? Like, did they get any correspondence through email that they had to fill out as part of the application?
So when it comes to the maintenance part, you can get the minimum maintenance without giving any of your parents information. However, if you're trying to get a higher amount than the minimum, then you will have to get your parents and they'll have to give their email or some sort of contact for the government to get in touch with them.
Okay, thank you. So we'll tackle the next question. What loans, bursaries, and scholarships are available? Alex, do you want to start?
Yeah, so I'll take the main two. So the first one is your tuition loan, and that's the money that goes directly to the university to pay for your course. So that's money that you don't see. It still technically is your loan, but goes straight to the university. And that tends to be the price of your course. So some courses like nursing that have bursaries that we'll talk about in a minute, but majority of courses have that same tuition loan. For maintenance loan, as Mayo said, is based on income. So at a baseline, it's a bit of money just to support you with stuff like accommodation and food, but actually doing the means testing, so your parents or guardians' income, you can actually get a bit more, up to a similar amount as your tuition loan, and you can reapply for that every year. So that's what I did, as well as my tuition loan that went towards the university. I got a maintenance loan for things like accommodation, food, travel, things like that. So that all was applied for through my maintenance loan, and I get that every year just by reapplying.
Yeah, that's great, Alex. Thank you for sharing that. Even with me, it's been a similar response. I was literally just applying for maintenance loan, and that's just something that has got me to cover for my 3 years during university. But also, I've also spotted a comment. It's a comment from Anna, and she's asking, how has budgeting changed due to the pandemic, and any advice for a potential undergraduate? Well, from my point of view, because obviously we're in a pandemic and it's a very crucial time, a crucial moment, especially for students. And for me personally, because we're at home, that's one good. That's an advantage, because you don't have any reason to spend any money apart from maybe any bills that you might be paying at home. But like in terms of like your day-to-day costs, for example, when I was going to university, I would be having at least 2-3 meals a day in university. Like I would need food to keep me up, because I do get really hungry if I'm honest. But staying at home saves you a lot of money. Obviously, if you do have any bills to pay for, anything like that, any direct debits, and if you don't have any other sort of income, then it is a struggle. I do have friends in very similar positions, and it's very hard during this time. But there are some benefits and there are some drawbacks to this. But what do you guys think about this?
So I actually have something to add to that. What I've noticed is obviously, like, in terms of income, I'm definitely earning a lot less than I would normally. And as a result of that, I've had to cut back quite a lot. But because I'm spending most of my time at home, I've not spent any money on clothes because it's completely unnecessary. And by the time we get out of this, there'll be a new season of clothing that we don't need anymore. So the stuff we buy now would just be completely useless. I did buy a few shoes when there was like major sales going on. But that's pretty much it. So the only thing I'm currently paying for is rent and food. And it is a bit tough. I'm not managing to save as much as I normally do because that's what I try to do in terms of budgeting. I always try and put money aside. So I've not been able to do that very much during the pandemic, but I think, given the circumstances, I think it's okay. You can forgive yourself if you find yourself in that position. But I think if you have the time, a part-time job would definitely ease the burden. But I think it's difficult with university and balancing a part-time job where you're earning a whole chunk of money because now you're doing stuff online and you're required to be doing a whole load of things, and the pressure is definitely a lot more than it would be if you were on campus and things like that. So I think it's just about try not to spend money that you don't have and just cut back on whatever you can and save up for when all of this is over. Because once you get back to campus and things are back to normal, you'll want to spend some money there. So yeah, that would be my advice for students and budgeting during the pandemic.
So back to the loans, bursaries, and scholarships that are available. There's also a DMU Global High Flyers Award, which you can apply for in first year at the end. And basically that gives you a discount of up to £1,000 to the DMU Global opportunity the next coming year or the next. And basically what that is you get to have like a cheaper version of going on holiday, but it's also something to do with like either volunteering or with your course. So you get to go to New York or like China, anywhere. They'll support.
Okay, and the last support that is available for some students as well is the Disability Student Allowance. And this is support to cover any study-related costs that you might have or because of mental health issues or any long-term illnesses or disabilities that you may have. This can be on its own or in addition to any other student finance that you might get. The type of support that you get is very much dependent on the individual case, so that it is calculated on a case-by-case basis, and it's based on your individual needs and not based on your household income. And the Disability Student Allowance is not, you don't have to pay that back, and you do have to apply through the government for that, similar to Student Finance England. So that's one of the amazing allowances that you could get as well to support you at university. Okay,
So
next question. Alex, you can take it.
Yeah, so for some students, we've discussed that maintenance loan, but it might not be enough. So what do we do? And actually, Nabila, I am coming to you first, as you've already touched upon part-time jobs. What else can be done?
So I think for me, the big one was a part-time job, because when I first moved to the UK, I was getting money from my dad. It wasn't very much, especially because, like when you're at university, you want to go out with friends and you've got things that you want to do and stuff that you want to buy. And so I quickly realized that the money I was getting from my parents wasn't enough to kind of allow me to live my best life, I guess. So I looked to get a part-time job. And one of the things that we all do here is we work as student ambassadors. I think that's probably one of the best things that I've done with the university, because it pays really well and also is very flexible around your studies. So you can apply to become a student ambassador and help at university-wide events. You can help with telemarketing. You can help at the open days, showing prospective students around. So it's really a fun job, and you're working with other young people, other students as well. So it's a lot of fun, and you get exposed to a lot of different things as well. And like I said, the money is really good. And with that money, I've been able to kind of do a whole load of things, and I've managed to put money aside for savings. So that's probably one of the things I would recommend for students to get involved in if the maintenance loan and student finance doesn't cover everything that you need. A part-time job, it'll definitely help you.
So in my
May
opinion,
I ask him?
Yeah, so just to add on to that, so what Nabila said, like a part-time job, that's something that I've also got, and it's obviously helped my life a lot, because the way I manage my finances is the maintenance loan that I got from uni, I use it to any cost associated with uni. So that's like any course books or stationery, like a laptop that I had to buy. And then obviously from the earning from a part-time job, I use it for like my personal expenses. So for example, like I've got a car to run, so I use my income from that to run those kind of expenses. So it's important to obviously manage your finances very well. So if you have a part-time job, it's going to help you out a lot. Another thing to consider is maybe opening the right type of bank accounts. There's loads of banks that offer student bank accounts. They give you loads of offers. For example, at the beginning of uni, I was actually living outside of Leicester for a bit, and I was catching the train. So Santander, they offer a free rail card. So obviously you're saving a lot of money down there. So you're not purchasing a rail card, which costs quite a lot if you were to buy it separately. There's also accounts that give you the option of having an overdraft interest-free account. So a lot of students do go into overdraft. It is normal. We do get excited with our money sometimes, but obviously having that the no interest fee on our accounts helps a lot, because obviously when it comes back to paying your paying the money back, then obviously you're not paying more than you actually borrowed.
Also, for help, even like if the maintenance loan isn't enough, there's also a hardship fund for like seriously struggling students, and De Montfort University provides that for them. And also, once the virus is all sorted out and the economy is back to normal in Leicester, it is a city, so there's a lot of jobs available, like a lot of shops in the city town centre, which is very close to DMU, like 15-minute walk. So there's a lot of chances for you guys to earn money. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. And just before we go to our next one, we've obviously talked a bit about part-time jobs, either as a student ambassador at university, or like May just said, about town and all the different part-time jobs. One of the big questions a lot of students always ask is, how do you manage university work and part-time jobs? Because I know we're talking about budgeting, but it's still a really big thing to factor. So does anybody want to chip in on how they balance that? Nabila?
Yes, I'll go first. I think the most important thing is to kind of manage your time effectively. So you need to understand that whilst you're at university, there'll be a lot of independent study involved. So you will have to do things outside of your classes and workshops and seminars. So you need to make sure that you factor that into the equation as well. And you also need to think about, having a little bit of fun as well, because you don't want to be working and burning yourself out by the end of it all. Make sure that you take out some time to kind of have some fun. But most importantly, you need to consider that your degree is the most important thing and everything else comes after. So just try and make sure that you don't get too carried away with how many hours you're taking. Try and maybe work on the weekends instead, so that you're not missing any lectures during the week. And if you kind of get your timetable together and then work it all out like that, you should be able to manage a job and studying, because I'm doing a PhD, which is 40 hours a week, but sometimes I'll work at night, sometimes I'll work on the weekends if I'm working a shift or something like that. So you got to make it work, and you need to manage your time effectively. I think that's the most important way for you to get a job and study at the same time.
Yeah, just to add to that, it's very important what Nabila said. Having a structure is very, very important, and to be organized, especially when you're at university, because obviously you've got a lot of responsibilities. You need to learn how to manage your time well. And for me, for example, I work only on the weekends, so on a Saturday, Sunday for a couple of hours. So I make sure that from Monday to Friday, my schedule will be university. That's my priority. I spend most of the days working on my assignments, on university, independent studying. That's from Monday to Friday. And after that, in the weekend, I don't touch university, because obviously I need that break. Obviously, I'm working a couple of hours. So mainly I'll work in the morning for about 8 hours in the weekend. And then the rest of my evenings, I've got time for me to relax, chill, spend time with my family, spend time with my friends. So having that good balance, that structure is very important, especially as a university student. And it's something that I would advise you guys to adopt from right now if you haven't, because it will literally help you structure your life. Especially when it comes to your deadlines, your assignments, you're not always rushing last minute, you're not leaving it to the last day. So being organized is a very, very important skill.
Yeah, definitely. When I first started having my job in university, I really struggled to like balance it at first. But then with the job, as the weeks went past, my organizational skills like skyrocketed, and I was able to like plan stuff with friends as well, and like just sort my life out a bit. So.
Yeah, exactly. Some great points raised, and actually, I think the hard thing is if you're having a part-time job during sixth form college, you're already restricted to that because of school hours. At university, there's a very easy path of going, I'll take every hour that's passed to me, because you're not confined to a 9 till 5. Your lectures are on different pathways. So the hard thing is sort of saying no to those hours at first, especially if you get a job quite early on. Before you found your feet and you know your own routines with the university and the university work that comes with it, it's very easy to take on those hours. So as long as you're managing your time, like we've said, part-time jobs are quite nice to manage. And as we've all said, all four of us here have a part-time job at university or a couple. So actually, if we can do it, and again, with doing masters, PhD and undergrad, if you do it well, you can support yourself with it. And that leads nicely actually on to our next question. So how do you manage your finances at the start of university? So this is quite an interesting one, because the way student finance works, where you get 3 installments a year, so it's not just one big payment, which is quite nice for budgeting, I found, but actually it's in 3 set points. And the first one comes in actually a week after you start university. So that first week is your own finances. And that was something I wasn't quite expecting myself when I joined. So I'd had a part-time job over the summer, but came to uni expecting my student loan to be paid in. And actually I had to factor that in with things like freshers events, meeting people, so going out to coffee with new friends and stuff like that. What other advice have you got for those first few moments for university before student finance?
Well, so because I didn't get student finance, I had my monthly allowance from my dad, which is kind of, I guess, embarrassing to think that that's how I started, but we've come a long way since then. I think in the first week there was, I did try not to spend too much money because there was a lot of stuff going on at Freshers. There was loads of pizza, and like I just kept going round and round and getting a slice and walking off and coming back and getting another one, like shamelessly getting as much freebies as I could, as many freebies as I could. And I think that's pretty much how I survived for the first week. I mean, I didn't even buy stationery for my entire uni career. I didn't buy stationery. I had pens and highlighters and like sticky tabs and notebooks. So like, yeah, the first week was great. It was quite easy to kind of there was a lot of events going on, so it was very easy to not spend money on things, which was actually really fun to think about. Like now, when I look back on it, lots of freebies, I think, is the way most students survive the first week.
Yeah, and you'll find with freshers that it is targeted at first years as a welcome to university, but you'll definitely find myself and everyone else here at the freshers stands as well for that exact same reason. So we've spoke about the lots of freebies and stuff. Assam, Mayo, any other advice?
Yeah, just to add to that, the way I structured my finances when I first started at university was, so obviously before I physically started university, I was talking to my friends, some who were already at university, and I was asking them how they went about it. And one thing that I liked about one of my friends was they actually took a bit of money out of the savings to use during freshers, because freshers is a time where you're not going to really experience that time again properly, especially if you're first undergraduate student. And I thought to myself that if I just take a little bit of money out of my savings and use it during freshers, and once I get my maintenance loan, I can just put that back into my savings. And it's probably one of the best things I've ever done, because freshers is the best time you'll probably ever have at university. You make lots of new friends, the activities that they have. Bear in mind, it's not the cost is not too much, but it's like the experience is just amazing, honestly. And I would advise, like, if you don't have any money, any income coming from any part-time jobs, just do take a little bit out. It's not gonna hurt you. And then once you get your loan, after a week or two, then obviously you can pay that back into your savings. But that's one way I went about going into my first year, and I was living on meal deals from Tesco. That was for sure.
I also had a lot of home cooked meals already prepared. Like my parents already gave me in parcels when I came, so I didn't really have to spend money on food as much for the first few days. So that probably saved a lot of money for me anyway. Also, the freebies as well, they really helped out. Like Domino's would give free pizza slices, like Nabila said.
Perfect. And just before we go on to our next one, we've talked about some of those freshers events in the first week. So there are events that do have a price. So there's, I believe, for the past few years, there's been trips to Harry Potter Studios, Alton Towers, but there's also a lot of free events on campus, whether it's get to know people on your course, or societies have their welcome events and the welcome stands, also freebies there. So there's lots of things to do, and they aren't all paid events. So if you are coming and you do have a bit of a tighter budget, that's not going to stop your freshers experience. I had friends that were, again, borderline, in overdraft and things like that, and they still had an amazing freshers because of the range of activities that have been done, and were even done this year in a virtual setting because of the pandemic. So don't panic that you've got to spend loads at Freshers Week. You haven't, because there's lots of things to do at different prices. So you can go to Alton Towers, but you can also do a lot on campus and have the same amount of fun.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you all said. I mean, Freshers was quite the experience. So, like, I can't wait to go back again sometime soon. So we'll move on to the next question. With the maintenance loan being in 3 installments, so every 3 to 4 months, how did you make your student loan last? So the first thing I think students need to know, and probably my biggest advice for everybody, is that make sure you pay out the big things first. So you know that you have to pay for your accommodation, you'll have to pay for certain things, build whatever. If you can pay it out as soon as you get your loan, just do that, because then at least that's completely out of the way and you don't have to worry about it. And then what you have left is what you can kind of juggle with, and figure out how much more you need in order to, I don't know, spend on whatever you want to spend on. But your accommodation is very important. You need to make sure that's paid off. So that would be the first thing I'd say. Get that out of the way, because if you leave that, it could become a major stress on your head, and you don't want to be worrying about that whilst you're studying and stuff like that. So that's something I'd advise, and I'm hoping the rest of you would probably agree. And I'd say student discounts. I think people really underestimate how many student discounts you can get. And I am literally on everything. Uni days, I've got the NUS card. I use literally my student card for pretty much everywhere. And even if it's just 10% off, a penny saved is a penny earned, and it's something that I've learned the hard way. But just, where you can save money, just do it. I mean, even like with the Adidas app, if you just download the app, you can get like free delivery. Or if you become a member or something like that, you get free delivery as much as you want. And Nike do something cool as well, and you get discounts from them regularly. So there's all these like different things that you can do in order to just save a little bit of money. So it'll definitely help you keep your student loan and help it last a little longer. Who to give the next piece of advice?
Yeah, just to add on to that, one important thing is so you get your student finance in 3 installments during the whole year. What I normally do is, once I get the first installment, I break it down into weeks. So for example, let's just say you get £1,000. I'll just make sure that I break it down within the week. So my budget for the week will be like £100-200, for example, and just to make sure that I don't go over that. And if I do, then obviously I need to see like where I'm spending the money and where I need to cut back. So having that budget, having that like tracking your finances is a key thing. So it's something that I would advise. I do know a lot of people do. They track their finances, which helps them last some money, because if you're just going to spend without knowing, without tracking your finances, you're going to be left with nothing at all, and then you're going to be struggling. So do you track your finances? It's going to help you out.
Yeah, so during first year, I really struggled to like balance my money. So over time, I realized like Aldi and Lidl are like really useful shops to go shopping in. It's a lot cheaper than the big supermarkets such as Tesco. However, during like 6, 7 p.m., if you go to Tesco, the big one, you can get like way cheaper, reduced stuff that is still fresh for that day, so you can still enjoy it for like much cheaper. And those things really help me out to eat well for cheaper. So
Yeah, and just to sort of echo all that, my biggest thing was accommodation. So knowing that was coming out, but with uni accommodation and even the student accommodation for local residences, time their accommodation payments with student finance usually. So you'll have your student finance coming in, and then the next week your accommodation comes out. So it's good to be aware of that, ready in advance. But actually, one of my accommodation payments was due to come out before my student finance. So I contacted the accommodation place. It was a DMU accommodation, and they said, that's completely fine. We'll change it on the system and you can pay it after. So you'll find that most times they fit. If not, raise those questions, because most of the time they're more than happy to accommodate. And again, take most of it. Anything you get. I mean, Nabila and I love discounts more than anybody, and we'll use them all the time. So I do a similar thing. It's my week. I know what I've got roughly each week. So some week I'll spend a bit over because there might be somebody's birthday or just having a bit of a fun time with some friends. And so the other weeks might be a quiet week because of exams, so revising at home. And you do balance that. So as long as you know roughly what you're spending, and I think the biggest mistake is letting it go into your bank account, let it leave your bank account without making note of it. So if you never check your bank account the whole time, you never know. So just every now and then, have a look and see how you're doing. If you're over, again, what we've said, take it back a bit. And again, you can still treat yourself. You don't have to live on the breadline. You don't have to not go out. You can still have a lot of good times, but just be careful with it at the same time.
So I'd like to add a little bit to what Mai mentioned about like shopping around and going to Tesco and stuff like that after hours, because they get stuff for like 10p, and Marks and Spencer's used to be amazing. They used to have like full cooked meals for 25p and stuff like that, and I lived off some of that stuff for like a week. It was crazy. But I actually got introduced to it through my aunt, who on the way home from work every day used to go to Marks, and it was mad. And she'd get so much stuff, like really fancy desserts for like 10p. And sometimes I think the last time I got a bag of oranges for 2p, and it was the best feeling in the world. Yeah, it was just 2p, and I got like 6 oranges to last me the week. So really shopping around, I mean, the benefits of that is just unbelievable. And then we also have the Leicester Market, where you can get like bowls of loads of vegetables and fruit and all sorts of things. Like, I know that people always say that eating healthy is more expensive, but actually if you know where to shop, it can be a lot cheaper than you think. And what I used to do as well is like home cooked meals sometimes don't seem as fun, but if you have friends over, then it's like you can say, right, you're going to bring the wraps and I'll buy the chicken and you can bring the veggies or whatever's, and then everybody puts it together and it doesn't really cost very much, and you can make quite a lot for everybody to share. So it's just little things like that, and it's actually a lot. It's so much fun to do that with your friends. Like I had a pancake Sunday morning, and things like that. So it's really all about the experiences of being a student, having like this much money and buying this many things is the most satisfying experience ever. And yeah, I think you just need to make sure that you consider all the costs. So once you start, within a couple of days, you'll start to figure out, okay, there's a lot of things that I need to pay for. So like one of which is You need to think about laundry costs. You need to think about TV license. A lot of people don't think about those things. So just, look into it. How much does a TV license cost? Do you need to get a TV license? Can you be covered by your parents? And then there's also things like council tax. So as a student, you are exempt from paying council tax as long as you're a student. So that's like a major saving of like a good £1,000 a year, I think. I've never paid council tax, so I don't know how much it is. But it's a lot. Yeah, and then there's Amazon Prime as well. So you can get 6 months free Amazon Prime as a student, and then it's like $2.99 or $3.99 for the rest of your subscription, however long you want to do it. And like Netflix. I mean, most people kind of one person will have Netflix, and then we all, like, if they come over to my house and we all watch Netflix together and stuff like that. So there's a lot of ways to kind of make sure that you're not spending as much. Like when you're at home, you probably spend a lot more, but when you're a student, you start to kind of figure out, how to bypass the system and save more money, which I think is the biggest thing, is saving wherever you can.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, just to touch on the home cooking thing, as well as it being a cheaper option, as we're talking about budgeting, it's also an amazing social way. If in first year I did it a lot with my housemates when I first moved in, with people that I hadn't met before, and we found that cooking was a great way of having a laugh, having some good food, and doing it on a budget. So it ticked all the boxes and made it really great experiences. So leading on to a bit more of the course related stuff, you've heard that we're all in different subject areas. So are there any course expenses? We'll go to Asim first.
Thanks, Alex. So in terms of course expenses, one of the main things that you're always going to be buying is probably your books. With your books, it's either you can get them for free or you have to buy them, because if you go to the library and there's not enough books, then everyone's just going to be fighting like cats and dogs for that. So obviously we don't want that. If you're going to be buying your books, always buy them secondhand. You don't need to buy them new, because I promise you, it's an absolute waste of money. You're probably gonna open it like twice in the whole year, if I'm being honest. So always go for secondhand books if you do really need them. But other than that, you can literally find so many free online resources. So you can get them for free. You don't even have to pay a penny. So if it's there online for free, by all means use that service. But if not, you can always go for secondhand, and it'll be the better option for you guys.
Yeah, I think just on the book situation, sorry, Mary, just before you come in, I bought one textbook in my 3 years, and I've used it quite a bit because it was on a subject that I wasn't really sure about. So for me, it was worth getting that book because it was something that I knew I was going to read. Every other book that I've taken out of the library, and Nabila knows that sometimes I walk out the library with 8, 9, 10 books. The library is so full, and also because of the pandemic, there's been a lot of stuff that's been put online as well. So the odds are, if you need a book, it'll be in the library. But if it's something really, really important, it's something that you think is beneficial, again, you don't have to get the newest edition at the best quality. Secondhand and the previous editions or editions before have the same information, but you can always check with your course and course leaders as well. May, sorry, do you want to come in?
Yes. So in first year, I actually paid for all 6 books that I needed to get. That I was told I needed to get. So I bought it from DMU. It cost about £300. I regretted it, but so basically, you don't really need to buy the books because there are previous editions of those books over the few years. You don't have to buy the latest book. It's pretty much the same topic every year, so you could just capitalize on in the library, because they give books for free. You can just read it and return it within 2 weeks, and you'll save money, and you don't have to pay for the books. So yeah.
So I can touch on a little bit of software costs, because when you study psychology, you need access to SPSS, which is a statistical analysis software. And actually, I thought that I might have to buy it, and I was really stressed about that. But actually, the university has like a rolling license for these things, and we can access SPSS and the latest versions every year. Obviously, up until you graduate, which is really amazing. And also, as a student, I think you get free Microsoft products as well, like Word and stuff. You can download that for free. I think I did that when I bought my new laptop. I got the whole the Microsoft shebang. Not very technical, so yeah, but I managed to download all of that for free. And normally that's quite expensive. You do have to pay quite a lot of money for that, but that is funded through the university, so you can download that for free, which is just really awesome. And I think like we also have AV loans. So if you want to borrow a camera and if you want to borrow recording equipment of any kind, we have an AV loans department, which is actually really cool because you can take out a camera and just, if you want to take some pictures for fun or record yourself for an assignment or something, you don't have to go out there and buy specialist equipment just for that. You can borrow it from the university, and the equipment is like top notch. I know one of my friends had borrowed a camera, and it was like a really good Canon camera, and for her assignment, because she studied photography and video, and it was really cool that she didn't have to buy one, especially. So there's that option as well, which really does alleviate the cost because those things are expensive. And like also if you can't afford to buy a laptop, you can borrow a laptop from the library as well. So you obviously have to use it whilst you're in the library. You can't really take it out, but it just means that you can go in there, do some work on a laptop if there aren't enough computers available, which is just really cool, I think, because sometimes you don't really want to buy a laptop and maybe you don't need one necessarily. So you can just use whatever's available to you at the university, and you can access computers across campus in any building, which just makes it a lot easier with assignments and things like that.
Yeah, perfect. And I know that software goes through all ranges. So there's some art and graphics courses, computer design, graphics design. All of that software is on those systems in the university as well. And just with art and design, obviously some courses do require a lot of resources. So when you start, you can speak to your lecturers to see if there's any additional funds available. So for architecture in year 1, 2 and 3, there's possible bursaries of 150, 200 or £300. Worth it that if you're needing these resources as part of your course, speak to your lecturers, as there might be more financial support available.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next question. Sorry, Alex.
No, you go.
Yeah, okay, I'll take it. Does it cost to join a society? Is it affordable to take part? I was only a member of a few societies. The ones that I was a member of, I didn't pay too much. Like, I think one I joined for £3 and the other one I paid £5 maybe. But I don't know if the rest of you have any other experiences with that.
Yeah, I'll come in on this one. So
No,
sorry, you go, Mary.
Go on, Alex.
So in terms of societies, for your general club societies, like I don't know, dance and ambassador society, they range from £3 to £5, £10. Some have additional costs just for facilities, stuff like that, but majority are in that range. For a sports society, there is usually a £10 membership fee to the club, and if it's your first club, it is £30, and that pays for sports insurance just to make sure if you get an injury, you're protected. Now, the good thing with this, so I was part of DMU canoeing for a few years, so obviously quite high risk with going out onto the Leicester River. So just good to have that there. But once you pay that £30, if you join extra sports clubs, you only pay the £10 membership. So I actually joined badminton for a bit and only had to pay £10 instead of an extra £40. So once you've got that insurance, and it just can book onto that, as soon as you book your membership, it automatically gets paid onto your first one. But for £10 joining the club, it was great, and lots of other ones were free. So ambassadors are free. I'm on the Pharmacy Society. For this year, it was £2 for the year, and that covers everything besides a few odd little events. So that's my experience with it from my side.
Okay. So during
sorry.
no worries. So yeah, when I was joining societies last year and a few years ago, during Freshers Fair, there'll be a bunch of, activities fair. There'll be a bunch of societies and clubs there, so you can speak to each one directly on the day for free. They'll just explain. There'll be goodies there as well, so you can get freebies. And yeah, it's just really knowledgeable about what societies there are and how much everything costs. And it is all affordable. Obviously, if you go for every single society and club, it's not be, but whatever suits you, it will work out. So don't think about the money as much.
Yeah, the activities fair was so much fun because like they had some you can also take part in some trials and stuff. Like if you want to try something new, there's something called korfball, which I was like, what is that? Like never even heard of it. But that was really cool. Didn't join the society, but it was fun to try it out. So you can do that as well with some of the societies. There's like a trial period, so you can go in, have a try, see if you like it, and then you can pay your membership after. But you just kind of express your interest at the activities fair. And speaking about freebies, like I got like 6 Krispy Kreme donuts and like a bunch of cupcakes and sweets. I filled up my whole cupboard with like sweeties just, to pop in my mouth whenever I just fancied a sweet. It was really cool. And it was all organized by the students as well, which is really amazing. Alex and I were part of a society together, and we like it was really fun. We did so many things together, and we got like discounts at the indoor golf place, which is one of the activities we did. And there's also student discounts and society discounts at the bowling alley, which we did as a society as well, which was really fun. So it is very affordable. And the thing to just bear in mind is like you can try anything as in a society. Like if it's something you've never done before and you just want to try and see how it goes, by all means just do it, because it'll be a lot of fun and it's not very expensive. I think overall between like £2 to £5, unless it's a sports society, which is a little bit more, but that you get a lot with the money that you spend on that, which I think is really cool. Okay, so this is the last question. How do you pay for course trips? Does the university offer any grants? Who here has been on any global trips? I have. Has anybody else been on global trips? Yeah, okay, awesome. So you can have a chat because we've not heard from you in a while, so you can start off.
So so I went to a trip in my second year, and it was to America. And the university actually helps you a lot because they tend to offer you a bursary. So I remember I got a bursary of up to £150, and the trips that they plan, they're quite reasonable as well. So they're not too expensive. And plus they're giving that bursary, so I only ended up paying like £300-400 maximum, like for everything. So if you're going on a DMU global trip, obviously you have to apply for it, apply for the opportunity, send in an application, and then obviously once once they've accepted you, then obviously you can go ahead with that. But just to like give you an insight to everyone that's listening, obviously, depending on the circumstances, DMU Global is one of the best opportunities. I would highly recommend it. It's so much fun. If you're going to on a trip that's course related, it's going to help you like so much. The experience that adds to your CV, it's just incredible, and it's something that I would advise you to all do if you have the opportunity. Obviously, depending on the situation. But yeah, Nabila, you.
Yeah, so I've actually been on several global trips, like probably 7 or 8 in my time at the university. So I've been to India, I've been to Hong Kong, I've been to Berlin, I've been to America, I've been to Singapore, Sri Lanka, Cyprus, and I'm sure I'm missing one. But anyway, see, one of my key principles in life is when you get paid every month, put some money aside. And the main thing that I would put my money aside for was for traveling. And I think because the university subsidizes a lot of these trips, not a lot, all of them, they are subsidized through the university. It made it a whole lot more affordable for me. So I could just dip into my savings, spend it on a trip, and it was totally worth it. Because like Asim said, the experiences that you get, the opportunity itself, the people that you meet, and it's just phenomenal in general. I think the overall experience and that I've had in my overseas experiences has really led me to be the person that I am today. I can speak quite confidently. I've developed cultural agility, and it's brilliant for your CV. So I volunteered in India, and I did some volunteering with refugees in Germany, and the trip to the US, I was talking at a United Nations conference. So it's really phenomenal, the opportunities that are available to you if you come to DMU, and once the COVID situation is over, that you can get involved in. And it is definitely affordable. I think for the India trip, I was there for 10 days and I only paid £300 total for my flights, accommodation, transport, food, everything. And you can take as much spending money as you want. So if you don't want to spend too much money, which I never wanted to, I would budget like say £200 for the week. And I maybe only spend £100. So it really depends on how much you want to spend. And because you're starting to get the hang of budgeting, it'll be a lot easier to budget abroad. But if you're one of those people who just wants to make the most of it, spend whatever, and make it up and get back, by all means do that, because these global experiences are really just amazing. And after my first global trip, I got the travel bug, and I've been traveling ever since. Like, I haven't stopped. So definitely valuable experiences through global, and definitely very affordable for students.
Yeah, just to weigh in, I've done 3 trips in my first 2 years. 2 of them being to India, doing a similar trip to Nabila, and one of them was a pharmacy trip to Amsterdam. So there's such a wide range. Again, we've heard India, America, anywhere in the globe, there's likely to be a trip, whether it's those volunteering trips that we've mentioned, or actually cultural ones. So they do split into 2 different categories. So the way it works with DMU Global is there's sort of 2 levels of bursary. There's the UK European group, which I believe is about £150 bursary, and then there's the international one, which is 300, 400 plus, and that goes directly off your trip. So you don't get that cash, but they take that off your trip. So in 2 years I went on 3 trips, and as Nabila and Adam said, they are the best experiences that really go alongside your course, because you're there to get a degree, but that doesn't mean you've got to sit and do it all the time. And these experiences, me and Nabila have spent hours and hours talking about our trips. And actually, when I did my first one, I'd only been in university for 2 months. So it was quite a weird sort of experience of starting uni, having freshers and getting into it that way, and then immediately applying for this trip to India. Sort of an experience that I'd never thought I would have done, but that being available from the very start, and again, the money taken off really helped that, and it helped with financing it, knowing that in advance, because usually you book onto these trips 4, 5, 6 months ahead. So it's not like you get an email saying you go in next weekend. You've got time to put that together, put the money aside for it. Obviously, you've got to be reasonable. If you're already well into your overdraft, maybe wait a little bit. But actually, if you know that with a part-time job or with maintenance loan, you can support yourself to do it definitely. And the same with the societies, this is the opportunity to really, really make those experiences. And I know us 3 have all had very different experiences, and that's part of the thing as well, is every trip, even with me and Nabila both going to India, our trips were different as we were working on different projects. So I did my first one with a pharmacy one, look at teaching children about germs and hygiene, which is funny now that we're in the situation we're in. It's those type of things that I don't learn on my course, I learn the science of, but actually going and applying that to such different communities and with different people. Even in the lockdown situation we're in now, I know we're using that to reflect quite rapidly on what we've done, whether it's one trip, whether it's 8. Each of those means so much, and you can definitely make the most of your time as well as using your budget to get you to travel the world and see some amazing things. So yeah, if you get that opportunity and you've got the funds for it, take the time, save, and have a brilliant time.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Alex. Sorry, I forgot your name for a second. With Alex, I mean, I think that the most important thing to remember is, like, when you're going for job interviews and stuff, the first question they'll ask you is, tell us about yourself, and this will help you answer that question a lot easily, because I know, like, it was a question that used to scare me before, but now I have things that I'd like to talk about. And unfortunately, due to the COVID situation, a lot of that has been put on hold. Including like the freshers and activities fairs, which are all happening virtually online, just like our open days and everything, which is unfortunate, obviously, given, you know, the situation, unprecedented and everything. But as soon as things go back to normal, all of that will kickstart again. And yeah, it'll be great one way or another. University is going to be an amazing experience. And manage your time, manage your finances, and it'll be amazing one way or another. So yeah, I will invite Henrik back on the screen to take over again.
Thank you, Nabila. Yeah, no, that was really insightful, guys. It's always really nice to hear everyone's sort of different, you know, their backstories and their different approaches to things like budgeting, because I don't think there's necessarily a right or a wrong way or a perfect way to do it. You know, everyone's got their own little quirks and that sort of thing. I mean, and I wish I listened to some of you guys, because I was, like I said before, I was absolutely terrible at budgeting my money when I was at uni. But something that you have to learn and that you do appreciate when you become an adult like me and you live in a house and you have to pay for bills and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely a skill that is actually quite transferable to later on in life. But yeah, you all made some very, very valid points. Nabila, I'm extremely jealous that you got to go on 8 DMU global trips. I didn't go on any when I was a student. So yeah, completely rubbing that in my face there, but no, that's absolutely fine. But yeah, no, thank you guys. It's been really great. You've all shared some really insightful stuff. Just before I wrap things up, does anybody else have anything left to add at all? Well, I do think you all smashed it. I mean, just another point from me. I think, you know, sometimes finances and that kind of thing can be what people do see as a barrier to university sometimes. But what you're going to do is you're going to look at the university package, the whole experience, and you really want to look at it as more of an investment and that kind of thing. You know, you're investing in your future, you're investing in your experiences. And as Nabila touched on as well, you know, you're talking about, you know, things like trips, sports team societies, this kind of stuff. You know, these are things you're going to be talking about in interviews and on your CVs later down the line when you're looking for jobs. So yeah, I mean, if you go into it with that mindset, you know, it's not quite half as scary as you might think it is before you start looking into things. But yeah, so we'll leave you there. Thank you for tuning in. It's been a pretty good hour or so. We'll leave you to have your tea because it's getting quite late. So bye from me, and thank you very much, guys. You all absolutely smashed it. Hopefully see you all again.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
So yeah, thanks, guys.